Aloha, this is your astrologer Tom. Let's dive into the full moon for Thursday, August 11th. So we have a lot of stuff going on. As with any full moon, there's energies to harmonize and there's energies of their lower expression to bring up to their higher expression. So during this time, we're already in the full moon energy, 3 days before, 3 days after. So if you're feeling stuff kind of get moving in your life in one way or another, so we got going on here. So one energy is to bring anything that's dramatic or self-centered or seeking attention to its higher expression of loving, being loyal, and self-confident. Another one that we need to harmonize with is rebellious, stubborn, feeling at fault. Bring that up to inventive, humanitarian, and independent. When we blend those two together, we're basically looking at leadership, higher expression, leading people, leading ourselves, diving into what makes a great leader. And that does include self-leadership and leading yourself. Now, what makes this full moon quite a bit unique is we have what's known basically as a grand square, and what that basically is, if you're not as familiar with astrology, is we have a number of different things that are tugging on a number of other different placements, and that's creating a challenge. The idea whenever we have a grand square is we're actually learning the modality. We're learning a way that the energy likes to express. And in this particular one, we're actually learning a bit more of stability. We're learning a bit more of structure. We're learning how to bring what the different forms of stability and structure and completing things and that type of stuff is actually involved. And so to dive into this a little bit more, here's a great way to tap into that energy. What can you do with it? You can work on finishing a project, something that you have that you've been working on. We've been talking about this theme since the beginning of the year in our year overlook. So if you've set a massive goal for yourself, the energy with this full moon is going to give it a really nice momentum, nice push. In a can be a gentle way, but if you've been resisting that goal, resisting doing what you've needed to do, it could be a little bit more of a desire to just motivate you to actually finish that project. So during this time, there can be emotions that go a little bit all over the place, and that's when what we want to do is remember to help each other out, and be there for each other, and that type of thing. It's knowing when to slow down, when to stop, when to pause and to stay grounded, and then also when to move forward. There's quite a bit of energy here that is stabilizing, wanting you to bring things into manifestation, and there's also quite a bit of energy that can be quite erratic if not directed. So if you think of water and dirt, you can get mud, right? And you can also basically, if you have either extreme like that, you can get mud, but you can also build stuff. And so knowing how to do that, or if you think of baking, knowing what the right proportions are of the ingredients when you bake a cake, for example, results in a cake as opposed to just a pile of mush or something else, right? So if you're feeling like, wait a minute, there's just a lot of things saying slow down, a lot of things saying speed up, a lot, totally makes sense with this full moon. Okay, and so also with this full moon, you're going to want to figure out what your truth is. You're going to want to figure out what's right for you, and it may require digging into patterns and beliefs, values, things that are important to you, to really look at things objectively and figure out what is really going on. One of the things I like to do is just say, what if everything I knew was wrong? What if everything I knew was wrong? And that got me to really dig in and be able to recognize and step into a variety of realities, which really helps me help people, because everybody that comes to me comes from a different perspective. And so even if you're not helping people in your career, for example, just doing that also helps to further evolve who we are, to grow. And so that's one of the questions I really like to ask myself. And it helps me figure out what my truth is. Because if I dive into another reality and I go, wait a minute, this doesn't make any sense, then I come back around. What I want to do, though, by doing that is to actually be able to step into the other reality, understand it, be able to talk to people that have a different reality, or have a reality that might be very different. I like to basically be able to talk to anybody in any reality, and such that they don't actually know what my personal truth is. There are times where, yeah, I mean, there are times where it comes up. Certainly, I believe in astrology, so that if somebody's becoming my astrology client, then they know that my personal truth includes astrology. And and really at the end of the day, it's looking at what's going to empower me and what's going to empower you. So this is a huge time to do that. Another thing is revisiting your plan, revisiting checklists. If you don't have a plan or checklists, actually writing down the things that need to get done and then working that plan, because again, a lot of energy that wants things to get done, and also a lot of energy that wants things to just be like, wants to stabilize, but also wants to move things around. In addition, knowing when to say no, knowing when to not take on too much. This is a time where we might end up finding ourselves in a little bit of overwhelm that we could actually manage and be aware of. And so this is also then the harmony of knowing what to do and what to work on versus what to say no. So again, with that grand square, right, you have to basically refine and harmonize between every square within. And so it really, there's a lot of these dichotomies that we have to look at and figure out, do we have a harmony here? And is it a dichotomy for us, or is it truly, and if it is it truly harmonized? So with this one, it's having that plan of what to do and knowing whether or not we're taking on too many things. So unexpected surprises can come during this time. And really to tap into that inner strength and to find that spark and really trust your intuition. If you can hear your gut messages, this is a time to, there's so much about intuition with a variety of energies. I didn't put it on every slide where intuition is necessarily involved, because it actually is involved in a lot of the energy patterns. And so with those surprises, trust that those surprises are for your greater good, the greater good of society, that type of thing, and that tap into your intuition as much as you can. And yeah. So what to do with this? Find a way to be active in one form or another. Find a way to direct this energy, put it towards something, build something, create something. There's a lot of creativity as well. Okay, so with this energy, again, it's having that harmony of wanting to move and then also wanting it to result in something. So so if you're not conscious of it, what can happen is you're just going in a bunch of different directions. It's not getting anchored into anything in the physical, and so you need to have both. Likewise, if there's things that need to get done and you're not conscious of what things need to get done, those things just may not get done. So having the harmony between it, having a way to direct the energy. So throughout August 20th and end of the year, there can be those surprise energies that take you in a couple of different directions. And so it's just being aware of what is going on and to be able to ride that wave, mostly from now to August 20th. That's more of the peak of it. And yet it does still carry to the end of the year. Interestingly enough, I mean, as we talked about in the 2022 look ahead video at the beginning of the year, right? It just so happens that a lot of the major themes this year carry in peaks and valleys throughout the year. And if you're conscious of the timing of this, then you can do quite a bit with it. People have asked me, hey, how have you gotten certain things done in such a fast period of time? It's because I'm using the cycles. I'm working with the cycles. I'm riding them, and so it's a lot easier, to do that, right? It's just like if you're on a plane and you have a tailwind, it propels the plane forward. It's easier to move in that direction. Or if you jump to ride a wave in the ocean, the wave propels you in the direction of the wave. So, that's what we're doing here. And so really, it's not just looking at a given full moon by itself. It's also looking at how that full moon plays into the cycles throughout the year, because in addition to the energies in play at a given full moon, the full moon goes from full moon to new moon to full moon to new moon, right? And as it does that, it's moving around the wheel. So there is literally a wave that forms, and well, a wave of energy. Okay, it's a energetic wave that you can ride, and that's what I like to do in my look ahead readings and stuff like that. So another thing that you could do, you're going to notice during this time, is quite a bit of inner transformation, quite a bit of diving into who you are and what is your truth, and why do you, I would say also looking at why I like to ask myself why I believe the things I believe, and to truly understand each perspective. Yeah, and so there's quite a bit of that type of transformation. Now during this time, there's other transits and aspect. So really, what we went over is the energy of what is present and how to use the energy of what is present, mainly focusing around that grand square and other things related to the full moon. But now other transits and aspect, Uranus, Mars, trining Pluto here. We have it really is that moment of take that blink of inspiration, take that light bulb, and there can be quite a bit of intensity, quite a bit of transformation, quite a bit of propelling you to move forward on something now. These three energies, especially, I mean, you got Uranus, the planet of change, Mars, the planet of action, really, Pluto, the planet of transformation, but it's also intensity. You put all that together and you have a positive flowing aspect, you get a lot of energy that wants to move. And this does get harmonized a little bit with some of the stability energy that's in play, but really this is take that idea and it's going to propel you to want to move forward, knowing how to be methodical in what you move forward with. So this is the dichotomy here is with this whole full moon. Really, there's so much around how to methodically move forward and create the things that you want to create without overdoing or underdoing on either of those extremes. Because if you have too much action and you're not actually directing it, nothing actually gets created. And if you're trying to do too much, but you don't actually have the fluidity in the energy, then there's no energy to move to actually create something. There's stagnation. So this particular transit actually is all about getting going. And what's interesting about that is it comes with Mars sextile Neptune, which is creativity and intuition, right? So diving in to, so if you think of a sextile as being half of a trine, this is like underneath, so to speak, the idea of the action that the previous transit brings out. And so you have that creativity and that intuition, and really, if you, as you begin to hear your gut and you find ways to be creative, you can do something with that. You can have the blink of inspiration that's just a creative idea, something of that nature. During this time with Mercury trine the North Node and Uranus can be a basically opportunity, mental opportunity, so thoughts, communications, to help overcome, this is hurdles, right? So to help overcome, jump over hurdles that you may have going on in your life, especially around things of the mind. So communication, ideas, focus. This is a way to help awaken those ideas, and then what you'll want to do with them is to actually bring that bring those ideas into something that you can actually do something with. Okay, so this is great to help blast through any mental blocks or anything like that. So if it's, hey, how am I going to move forward? Right, you got all this energy wanting to move forward, and then you have a creative way that you want to get there. This then frees up the mind to help come up with the next step to actually do that. Now, there are several Chiron transits in play, and I kind of just grouped them together here a little bit to make it easier to process. The Chiron, of course, is what's known as the wounded healer or the wound of the soul, metaphorically speaking. During this time, so whenever Chiron's in play, I like to look at Chiron like a coin flip. It effectively, you have to handle whatever that metaphorical wounding is, and then you're able to heal metaphorically basically in that same area. And possibly for some people, they end up going, they get a set of lessons or a set of experiences, and then they go and they actually make business out of that or something like that. It can indicate the flip of the Chiron, so to speak. And so with this, as Chiron gets tugged on with some of the transits, you could have a greater clarity of life purpose. In addition, though, the things that come up as part of what Chiron is representing here is to remember to have that self-care, remember to take care of yourself. And metaphorically healing, that can be emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically, just some form of that inner work, stuff that relates to you. Revisit beliefs and values. Because a lot of times I'll give you a deeper understanding. A lot of people on YouTube don't usually watch a video all the way to the end. So if you've watched, I still have dates and things that are coming up to talk about. This is not the end of the video at all. But what I want to say is I'll give you a deeper understanding of Chiron here. And really, if you think of that metaphorical wound, and if you think of Chiron as, okay, what did you come in with that you then need to metaphorically heal? Well, often when we have situations in our life that result in some form of negative experience, we end up developing at an unconscious level either limiting beliefs, or we change what's important to us, so we kind of reposition a value. And so oftentimes when Chiron gets tugged, the way to do that metaphorical healing then is actually to look at our beliefs and values, right? Because beliefs, values, emotions, some Chiron signs can be other things as well. But really, if you just stick with beliefs, values, and emotions, you get a lot of it. And so if you think of the idea that those are almost the outcome of that negative experience. So in order to heal it, metaphorically, we need to actually look at what that outcome was. It gives us a really good idea. And then by peeling away the onion of the beliefs and values, that we are actually able to tap into what that Chiron wants us to be able to do. Okay, so a lot of energy helping to support that this time around. It's fantastic. There's also Venus opposing Pluto, and it can be a power struggle. That's why I have tug of war on the slide. Can also be related to obsessions. Just basically, Pluto is intensity, and Venus can be beauty and money. And so when it has this opposition, it's asking to harmonize between that, so it can act like it's an intense amount of that or to an extreme. On the more higher expression side of it, Pluto's asking for that greater transformation, that greater worldly aspect of bringing something personal to the world, because Venus is a personal planet and Pluto is basically a worldly planet. And so what you have here is a little bit about connecting the, well, Venus can also represent values as well, right? So connecting what makes you to the world, and in what transformational way that you want to go do that. How do you want to be transformational inside and out? So there's a lot there. Let's look at some dates of upcoming transits. So with Venus from August 11th to September 5th, can be very warm, expressive, and generous. I have harmonized in parentheses because with everything going on, we want to make sure that we're not, I don't really think you can be overly generous, but what you want to be conscious of is your generosity in harmony with yourself. Because some people could look at that and see that it's either, spending too much or something like that. And so paying attention to that, harmonizing that. From August 20th to March 25th next year, Mars is in play with a couple of key transits. And so you want to avoid impulsive communication and decisions, but really it's ride the cycles. And so figuring out where there might be times where you're a bit scattered, and then times where you have to be adaptable. And it's just, it's recognizing, okay, do you have the amount of information that you need just to be able to make the decision? And are you grounded in that decision? And is that decision right with you? And so remembering to slow down to speed up, so to speak. And I used to avoid putting what to avoid in my astrology, because I'm just going to tell people what the energy is saying to do so they can go tap into the higher expression. And sometimes the way to the higher expression is to understand the lower expression, not because you have to experience it, you don't, but to understand the cycle. The way to know how to ride a wave is to pay attention to the wave, right, in the ocean. And yeah, sometimes the wave comes and knocks you down. Sometimes, you're able to get on the wave. Sometimes, it's to pay attention to these things. So one way of doing this is if you're like, okay, I'm going to slow down a bit so that I'm not impulsively communicating. You might notice that other people are impulsively communicating, in which case it's recognizing not to get looped into the cycle. It's recognizing that, hey, there's a wave coming from their impulsiveness, and you're just going to ride it as opposed to getting knocked down by it. So this is also saying you might notice that other people are impulsive. Okay, during this time, it is what it is. It's quite a number of months for specific reasons. There's also this going inward a bit and figuring out the inner communication and whatnot, and those inner cycles. And then, of course, related to the sun, we have when the sun changes. And so great time during August 22nd to September 22nd to complete projects, and especially ones that are organizational or analytical, facts, details, those types of things. And everyday life details may come up. So just, it's like less time during this window where people are kind of just enjoying life, so to speak, enjoying fun experiences more so. They're actually just in routine, which is interesting because it's at the end of the summer, and so you can kind of think about it or at the end of the summer up here in the U.S. And so people wrap up their summer excursions, and then there's back to school, and there's all sorts of other stuff that kind of comes in. And during this time, consider practical ideas. Consider things that it's a great time to get into details and figure out what needs to be done. And so as a result, unexpected changes, definitely complete a project, be objective. That includes with yourself, with others, with the project, with the world, right? Understanding that a wave is just a wave is just a wave. Look within the grow and practice self-care. So if you like this video and would like to see more like it, please subscribe. And if you like a reading with me to talk about how to go over how to apply this directly in your life, I'll leave the link in the description below. And with that, aloha, ahuiho. I'll talk with you again soon. Take care.